Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to Ituala Europe Leadership Conversation. My name is JD Mudede, and I'm the Ituala Europe ambassador. It's so nice to be back with you again on this broadcast where we discuss leadership. Ituala is out to prescribe, to join in conversation on leadership, to raise change agents, especially for our developing world, and also to train the trainers as well. And this is why we're here. Leadership is everybody's business. Leadership, as we've been looking at in the last few weeks, determines everything. Leadership determines everything. And I think this is one of the reasons why we all have to be part of this discussion. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone, all our viewers, all the people that are joining the broadcast, either live or joining later as well, that view the conversations, during the week, all the comments. Since we started, it's been so phenomenal. It's so exciting. Thank you for all your comments, for all your contribution, for your support. I want to say a big thank you, especially at this, wonderful Christmas season, as we want to say a big thank you to all for all your support, just being live with us, and also giving us your comments as well. Also to all the different people that have been guests, and also my host is not on today. She'll probably join us next week, for a special. I want to say a big thank you to you all as well. So we continue our discussion as well on the same theme: leadership determines everything. Like I said, from when this episode started, I said, Alexander Great said something, and he said, a team of sheep led by a lion will always be better or defeat a group of lions led by sheep. And literally, this talks about leadership and its influence on followership. It doesn't matter how dumb the followership might be. Once we can have quality leadership that can change the dumbest of all to very impactful group. And this is exactly what we're looking at still. And yet again today, I have still with me, and we're bringing, people were so excited last week, about our guest that we're having again today. As I told you, he's a banker, 20 years in the field of banking, and as a senior management as well. He's an inspirational writer. I look at I read his writing, and the way he scripts or he structures his thoughts, in text. It's just so amazing. Anytime I read something, I'm thinking, wow, this is just another way of putting this, and it's always so nice, reading right. He's an author, a leadership coach, and also a relationship enthusiast. And I think I'm going to bring him on board one day for a relationship, conversation as well. He's a founder of Arcane Junior Leadership Academy, a leadership development organization, that is aimed at raising and developing leaders. He's an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development in United Kingdom as well. He's a convener of the Aramco Socioeconomic Summit. So to all my kids people, when you watch this, or if you're online as well, he's a born-bred Ekiti man. And for those who do not know where Ekiti is in Nigeria, West Africa, the continent of Africa. Yeah. Okay. I think we can break it out that way. He's a Christian, married to, his best friend, in the name of Ayoride, with a whole lot of boys, in their own, tall boys in their home. Welcome with me again to Leadership Conversation, Ake Oluwadari Jr. So nice to have you.
Thank you so much, Pastor JD. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. Yeah, thank you.
Looking handsome as usual and clean.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you back. And I believe that from the last week broadcast, you definitely did touch on some very, very, critical things, some very, very important issues that our world is dealing with at this time as well, especially when we begin to talk about the fact that leadership determines everything. And I will reiterate that your quote again, that, or you just tell us. You can do what? Tell us again. Tell us.
Good evening, viewers, and it's my pleasure to be here once again. Taking it from last week, I think we started from definition of leadership last week, and I said the one that caught my fancy the most is the one given by Nana Cohen, where she said that leaders determine and clarify the goals of a group and galvanizes their energy towards the achievement of those goals. And the particular quote in question you are talking about has to do with decision making.
Yes.
And I said that you can delegate idea generation and evaluation, but it is the prerogative of the leader to make decisions. You cannot delegate decision making. To delegate decision making is a recipe for disaster because it causes confusion.
Wow, to delegate decision making. And I've studied different texts and I've seen where people have delegated decision making. And what you said just resonated really, really well. And it brings us to even a deeper discussion today as well, because today, for all our viewers that are joining, we started last week talking about decision making. And in some of the texts I've sent out to associates around the world, I said we're going to be looking at one key responsibility of leadership. By the way, can I just remind us that everyone is born a leader. So leadership, you need to study the leader in you, what is leading you. You're also a leader. We're not just talking about positional leadership. We're not talking about your office, the title that you have, even including our own personal lives. One key responsibility that we all have is that we're going to make a decision. You made a decision to join this broadcast tonight. Mr. Akin Oluwadare made a decision to be our guest. He had to decide, to do that. Now, but we need to understand something, from last week, that and this is one of the reasons why I said we got to continue this discussion, because we are seeing that leaders, people generally all over the world are making decisions out of ignorance. Why do I say this? I remember many, many years back, our founder, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, founder of Itwala, once said that don't ever make decision more important than its consequence. And he further said that we need to study the consequence of decision before making it, because it's not a decision that you live with the consequence. So this is where we're going to have a discussion today, because that was so deep. I had to dig that out, that what should we do? Let's look at what are some of those things that we need to do before making decisions in life. Because if decisions carry consequences, in fact, opening that up, I think you can see consequences all around us. That means some people made those decisions. Some people even made decisions on our behalf that we are now living with the consequences. So you are the leadership coach, the leadership development, the author, the trainer, the writer. So everybody is looking to hear from you. If you're going to write on this, what would you tell us? What should we do before making decisions in life? Because I need to know. Let me be honest to you. I've made some dumb decisions. I've made some decisions. I'm living with the consequence, and sometimes myself and my wife will sit down and we discuss something. He said, but you made that decision. I mean, he's not knocking me. He's probably rubbing my head and saying, well, don't worry. We're living with that. So over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you once again, Pastor JD. It's my pleasure to be here this evening once again. Okay, so let's just get there. You were talking about the art of decision making and what do we need to do to make the right decisions. I would say the first thing that should be done for anybody who wants to make a decision is to seek knowledge.
Seek knowledge.
Yeah. Whatever decision you take based on ignorance will lead. You said it earlier that we don't live with decisions we make, but rather we live with the consequence of that of decisions we make. So the first thing is to seek knowledge in whatever it is you want to take decision on. Because if you take decision based on half information, you are bound to take wrong decisions. That's
wow. Say that again. If you take decision based on half information,
knowledge, there's half knowledge. There's half truth. So if you do not have all the facts, and you take a decision based on half knowledge, half truth, you are bound to make a wrong decision. The next is to ask questions. A lot of times we make decisions based on ignorance. Ask questions. Has anyone done it before? If somebody has done it before, what was the experience like? Was the decision right? Did he make mistakes? You asked one question last week whether there's something one can do to make the right decision always. And I said, I may not be able to say that. It's unlikely. It's only God that is infallible. Every human being is born to make mistakes one time or the other. What is important is for us to stay by the decisions we made, whether right or wrong, and take responsibility. So I said last week that it may not be possible for you to say that you'll be able to take the right decision all the time, but ensure you are taking decisions. So now, if you seek knowledge, you ask questions, you now ask yourself, what could go wrong? If you know who has done it before, did he get it right? If not, are you able to learn from his mistakes? Then the next question is, what could go wrong? I used to have a boss. I no longer report to him now. Anytime you take a problem to him to solve, the first question he will ask you is, what is the risk? He will ask you, what is the risk? So if you ask yourself, this decision I want to take, what could go wrong? That would form the basis of you deciding whether it's a weighty decision you must take at that point in time, or probably you want to, at any point in time. So it is something that you need to be very, very, very sure of. What could go, if something goes, there's something about risk taking. I attended the class sometimes, and the lecturer said something about hazard and risk. He was trying to measure when hazard could go to a risk. When you are identifying a potential threat, now you ask yourself, if this risk crystallizes, what could the impact be? That would determine whether you need to avoid the risk, or you should accept or ignore it, or you mitigate. There are times you may need to mitigate that risk. If you assess the risk you want to take, if you identify the potential threats, and you are able to identify that this one is mere hazard, there's a difference between hazard and risk. The elementary stage is when it's still a hazard. But when you assess the hazard and you now find out that it is becoming risky, you now ask yourself, if things go wrong, what would the impact be on me?
Yes.
So you seek knowledge, you ask questions, then you ask yourself, if something goes wrong, what would the impact be on me? That would form the basis of you judging whether at that point in time you are able to take that decision or you go ahead.
My God, this is fantastic. How to make decisions, we need to seek knowledge. My God. I think sometimes people just make decisions just like that. They don't even think about it. Ask questions. And this is really big for me. What could go wrong? You know, within our corporate world and within the IT world, that's one thing that we always think about, especially when we want to make a decision on a project that we want to go, or we want to put some new solutions in place. First thing, we're going to start looking at the risk and how do we mitigate that risk. Very, very important. These are so important. Please listen, everybody. I think everyone needs to really apply this in their everyday, decision making. You just run through that checklist in your psyche. Do I have enough knowledge to do this? Where I'm going to have enough knowledge, what I want to do right now. Do I have enough information to make the decision? Half truths. Yeah. Oh my God. Tell me about half truths. What is the difference between half truth? Oh, it's still truth. Half truth is still partly true. So if I make my decision based on half truths,
half truth can lead you to the gutter. If you think you have all the information, and one tiny bit can mess up whatever decision you want to make. So that's why you need to take your time to ask questions. And sometimes we make the mistake of listening only to those who we love or who love us, without taking into cognizance the opinion of those who we think are not our fans. For you to make a balanced judgment, you need to hear from both sides. Most times, those you think are your fans, who you think love you, tell you the whole truth because you don't want to hurt your ego. Yeah. So that's why sometimes you need to even listen to both sides to be able to decide whether you are taking the right decision.
So that means we need to really balance our source of knowledge as well, not just listening or seeking knowledge just from places we like, or the kind of knowledge that kind of agree with us. Because someone says it's very true to ask questions, but what kind of questions is it? The how, what, when, where, or what kind of questions? Yeah, I think that's very true. Yeah. How?
Let me speak to that. Let me speak
please. Go on.
A lot of times you hear people saying they want to do something. It's common to politicians. When they are campaigning to get into political offices, they tell you they want to do this, they want to do that, but nobody is asking questions how.
Thank you.
By the time you begin to break it down, how do you intend to do this? You find out that most of them making those promises do not have a roadmap. There's something we used to call development plan. That is why decision making in the developing world is becoming problematic, because we take decisions based on instincts without any roadmap.
Thank you.
So if you want to take decision, what plan do you have in place upon which you are basing your judgment? That is key. So the question that was asked is the hows of what you want to do. By the time you break it down, how do you intend to achieve this? Even you making those promises, by the time you begin to ask yourself, how do I intend to achieve this thing I promised to do? You find out that you do not have enough knowledge, that you still need to research more before you can have adequate information to lead you to the judgment you want to make.
Fantastic. You know, even before that question came, the thought I was having was that, so why is it that, for example, because we always want to make sure that we make this, relevant to developing nations, because that's our focus. Why is it that our leaders in developing nations make decisions without studying its consequence? Why? Because definitely, I for one, I can tell you that they don't study consequence because of the things that we see happen, with decision making. Why?
The first part is the process of selecting our leaders in the developing world.
Yes, you mentioned that last week. Yes,
I mentioned that last week. There's a problem there. A lot of our leaders are not prepared for leadership. They just get there by chance, because there's a lot of them don't even have plan. Somebody is coming to office, he doesn't have any plans. When he gets there, it now depends on advisors. Advisors are good, but if you do not have your own plan, if you don't have your own vision, advisors will confuse you, because everybody is coming with his own ideas. If you know the roadmap you want to take, it is for you to now select the team you work with.
Yes.
It is for them to give you their own ideas. But because you already have a vision as to what you want to achieve, you are able to streamline everything and take decisions. We said it, don't forget that we said you can delegate idea generation and evaluation, but no responsible leader delegates decision making. So as the leader, if you know what you want to do, if the process is right, I said it earlier that the process of getting to office, to political office particularly, because I said it last week, political leadership determines, they control everything. They control our social life, even our spiritual life, they control everything. Economy, everything is in their hands. Yeah. So when you don't get it right at that level, there is a problem.
So we already have a problem by reason of the selection process itself. Because once we select the wrong leader, then everything is wrong.
Everything. Another problem we have is that of weak opposition. We don't have credible opposition anymore that can truly probe what is on ground and prefer alternatives. What we have mainly are criticisms without solution. You see a lot of people condemning what is happening, but ask them, what do you think it should be? They actually don't have any idea. So opposition is weak, and there's no development plan. When I was growing, we used to hear of development. Somebody would say, okay, we have a 50-year development plan. So if there is a roadmap, government is supposed to be a continuum, but in the developing world, it's hardly so. Everybody comes to office, starts all over again. No development plan is in place. So nobody is following any plan, no template for development. So everybody is just doing what he thinks the people need. There's a difference between what the people need and what you think the people need as a leader. What we see mostly is our leaders giving to the people what they think the people need, not exactly what the people need. So there's a disconnect.
Benedict Otu said, no responsible leader delegate decision making. Fantastic. Thank you so much for that comment. In fact, it really shows to us that one of the critical areas of irresponsibility of leadership is decision making, because we can see that indeed our leaders are making decisions recklessly. But can I even add to that even in our own personal lives, we make decisions recklessly that actually we continue to live with the consequence. Not only that consequence with us, then the consequence also passes to other people even around us as well. Now, interesting discussion came out of that, and I think this will just follow on what you just said. Now, is there anything like a collective, all of us decided, collective decision making or the burden of making decision should solely rest on the leader. So they said, we're going to do this. So all of us decided this is what we're going to do.
Let's get it right. There's a difference between all of us agree and we are taking a decision. It is possible that everybody in the room agrees with that decision that was taken. That doesn't make that decision collective, except there's no leader. Sometimes the leader even takes decision not based on popularity.
Thank you.
It can be the minority in the room because he has a vision for the team and he decides what is best for the team. What he thinks is best for the team might not go well with everybody. It's not compulsory that everybody must go with that decision. So we need to get it right. There is a difference between collective agreement and collective decision. To me, if you have a leader in place, the decision rests on his shoulders. It could be right, it could be wrong. What we are saying here is that if you do not have anybody taking responsibility, when things go wrong, nobody would be able to answer questions. And the leader should take responsibility for whatever decision is taken, whether right or wrong. When a wrong decision is made, he should be ready to take responsibility and stay with it and try again. I used to have a boss, like I said earlier, he would tell you, he coined it SW. What does it mean? He will say, some decisions will work, that's the first SW. Some will not, that's the second SW. So what? So SW. If you take decision that is wrong, life does not end there. But we are saying here that the reason somebody must be in place to take responsibility for that decision that was made, that's the leader, is such that when a team is doing very well, if you go to any country, any team at all, any corporate organization, when the team does very well and they are scoring, they are winning laurels, who do they praise? It is the leader. Like yesterday, Argentina won World Cup. Messi took all the glory. He was one that received the cup and everybody is shouting Messi. He didn't do the job alone, but he's the leader. Assuming Argentina lost that match yesterday, Messi will also take the blame. So what we are saying is, at any point in time, there must be somebody who is ready to take responsibility, whether right or wrong decision. So we are saying whether there could be something like collective decision. I do not think so. There must be somebody somewhere who is called a leader who must take responsibility for that decision that was made.
Thank you so much. Wow, it's a fantastic analogy that you've given to us. Yes, because if Argentina lost yesterday, they're going to blame Messi. They're going to find somebody to blame it on. It's got to be, they're going to always find somebody. And you see, this is why we always say that a politician by default is not a leader. Because politicians love to be loved. They operate by popularity. They always want to go by what everybody wants. While leadership requires you move from that political mindset into a leadership mindset, because you will need to take hard decisions. Either it's popular or unpopular. Everybody will come up with their ideas, just like you said. Might not. In fact, people might disagree. They might agree. But this thing they use within executive boards as well, that's it's collective responsibility. Either you agree with us or not, but you have a collective responsibility to go with whatever decision that's been made. Yes. I remember that very, very, very
well. There is a way Dr. Miles Monroe put it, what you just described now. You know what he said? He said politicians think about the next election.
That's right.
Leaders think about the next generation. That's just the simplest way to describe what you just said now. Yeah.
My God. Now, somebody did comment. I want to really pick up our audience and our delegates' thoughts and comments here. And somebody did say, now, all these things that we're talking about, how can it be? Can we not put a curriculum together for schools on leadership and things like that? And the answer really, I'm just going to make a comment, is that is part of the things we've been proposing in some of the nations, developing nations, also with our own organization as well, Itwala. That's part of, the agenda that we have, that we need to train the trainers. That's exactly what we represent as well, or race change agents, because really, we need to develop leaders in our world, and it needs to start as low as elementary level. You said something just now, that leadership is responsibility. In fact, that means it needs to start from our homes. So giving our sons and daughters responsibility to take is already building their leadership, potential and skills as well. And I think that is one key thing that we need to look at. Okay, but I'll take that even deeper to Mr. Ake as well. So, for example, and I still want to go back to this collective decision making. I was having a discussion earlier on as well. So, for example, in the family, because I see this all the time, and some say, well, I'm the head of this house. Some say I'm the neck as well. So we can't just make decisions. So in the family, and you're a relationship enthusiast, okay, if everything gels together. So what in a family, who is the decision maker? And what role do followers in that family too play in the process? Explain.
The undisputed head in the family is the man, is the husband, the father of the house.
Okay.
The decision lies on his shoulder. Okay.
However, thank you. That however,
yes. He should get the views of everybody. There is a mistake men make sometimes, and that is that sometimes men think that it could be taken as weakness if they take the opinion of their wives. It is not true. Sometimes, for many times, the wife could be right. It takes humility for the man to surrender himself to the superior opinion of the wife. But at the point of decision making, it behoves on the husband to take the lead. Sometimes even the husband may have the superior opinion to that of the wife, but he should not rub it in. Somebody used to say, I have another older person that used to say that if you continue to say that you are the head, you continue to repeat that to your wife, somebody needs to find out whether you are truly the head. That means you are not the head. You don't need to be, yes. Whatever will make you to be emphasizing that you are the head in the house, that means something is wrong.
Well, you're not visible enough, or you're not functional. That's why you're having to say it.
Yes, it's not debatable that you are the head. So the moment you begin to mention that you are the head, that means you are not really the head. So what we are saying here is that, yes, when you talk of collective decision making, between husband and wife, they are partners. There is no superior partner.
Thank you. That's
between
right.
the two.
That's right. Yes.
So that's why at any point in time, the husband must ensure that the wife is carried along. But there are times that the wife wants it in a particular way. But because the man has to decide, if the man has a different opinion, he must be willing to take the responsibility for that decision, whether right or wrong. And the moment he says that this is where we are going, the wife naturally should defer and agree. But when things go right, of course, everybody takes the praise. But if anything goes wrong, the man should be humble enough to say, yes, I took this decision. If I did not agree to it, we wouldn't have done it anyway. So if it's going this way, then we try again. There's no crime in trying something that you did wrong the first time. So talking about the home, the man is the head and he takes the decision, but it doesn't need to be saying it every time that I'm the head. Whatever will make any man to be saying, I'm the head of the house, that means it's not actually the head.
Wow. My God, there's so many questions coming, but our time is running out. I have a question here. My question will be, how many leaders of our time went through any leadership training? If they did this, is there any refresher course for them? Well, I think I'm going to take your question. We're going to take into our next conversation as well. We're going to make sure we log into it. Please join us as well next week as well. We're back here next week, Monday, 9 p.m. UK time as well. And we have a whole lot of comments. Everything's just rushing in as well. And we're going to be looking at all this discussion. By the way, the closing word here that I'm saying is that leadership must take responsibility for making proper, intelligent, decision based on knowledge, based on, not half knowledge, full knowledge, detailed knowledge, ask questions, and checking what could go wrong, checking the risk factor, and deciding that I will live with the consequence of this decision, because decision making is not the most important, it's the consequence of that decision that we've got to understand that we're going to live with. Mr. Ake Oluwadare, my God, it's been an awesome time. I'm telling you, this is,
let me drop this last one before we
drop it. You got only 20 seconds.
Yes, it has to do with leadership. We say it every time.
Yes.
In the advanced world, there is a process to leadership. But in the developing world, you don't have any clear-cut process. When I founded Akijino Leadership Academy, my intention was to see how we could propagate this idea to begin to have leadership schools where people can be trained. Closest to that is the one that Professor Patutomi has. He has one, values for leadership. We need to begin to have leadership schools in the developing world. Leadership is serious business. We have a lot of accidental leaders that get to office without having an idea of what they want to do, and it's giving a whole lot of problems to the developing world. It's my pleasure to be with you once again, Pastor JD.
Thank you so much. We're going to take it from here. Well, Mr. Aki has proposed a leadership school, process to leadership. What do we say about it? Let's have a conversation about it. So why not join us for a special Christmas broadcast next week, Monday. It's going to be Boxing Day, but we're going to come with a special package. I'm taking note of all of your comments. We're going to try and address them as well. It's 9 p.m. UK time next week, Monday, same channel, Itwala Europe Leadership Conversation. God bless you. Thank you so much, Mr. Akinluwadare. Thank you so much, everyone, and all the people who are going to watch this broadcast. Also, check out what Itwala is all about. Thank you. Good night.
Hi, my name is Miles Monroe Jr., and I'm the chairman of the board for the International Third World Leaders Association. Our organization was birthed to respond to and address the critical need for quality, effective leadership development and training in the emerging developing nations.
Our vision is to establish a global network of leaders from every discipline,
committed to the highest standards of excellence in leadership training, personal development,
mutual accountability, and fraternal support, implementing relevant and innovative leadership philosophy based on time-tested precepts, principles, and values.
Our mission is to influence the destiny of developing third world nations through leadership training,
personal development, supportive relationships, and global networking.
Our purpose is to provide transformational solutions
in response to the dynamic leadership needs of the emerging third world developing nations.
Our goal is to cultivate leadership commitment
to produce leaders
dedicated to the empowerment of their people,
the progressive well-being of their citizens,
and the betterment of their nation.
The strategic approach captured in the slogan coined by our founder, Dr. Miles Monroe,
was transforming followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change. Our focus is national development through